We've only got 3 days left of school. Hi everybody, welcome to Talk and Chalk. I'm Beck. I'm an assistant principal in Southwest Sydney, and we have 3 days left of school with the kids here for term 4, plus 1 extra day for our staff. And then as of Friday, we're on holidays. I know some of my colleagues around the rest of the country have either started or are starting a little bit earlier, a little bit later than myself. But hey, as of next week, we will all be on holidays, getting ready to stuff our faces for Christmas, or whatever it is that you choose to do during that holiday period. For me, it's seafood, lots and lots of prawns, some festive drinks perhaps, lots of fun with friends and family as well. So when we hit that holiday break, I will be taking a break from making some videos. If I feel like I've got the time for it during the January holidays, I'll put some stuff up. But either way, if you're new to the channel, go back and check all the playlists out on Talk and Chalk. See what else is there. There's 2 different playlists for back to school preparation. If you're a pre-service teacher, there's lots of videos there for you guys as well. Or even if you're experienced and you're just keen to check out what someone else is doing, have a look and see what's there. Today, I'm sharing a template with you guys that may or not be explicitly useful for you yourself, but would be good for your team or possibly your executives within your school. So if you're an executive, this might be very good for you too. So this is a template that I created so that we could look at what our classes would look like for the next year. This is really hard to do because, you know, you try and focus on, I guess, your current knowledge of those kids, who they can work with, what teacher they may best respond to, and their strategies. But then we sometimes don't know that information that came from the year before. So we found that sometimes we would make our classes and think, beautiful, this is a perfect lineup that we've got. You know, those kids that don't clash, those kids that clash aren't together. We've got a nice balance of needs, those sorts of things. And then we'd find out we've stuck Johnny with a kid that he didn't get along with 2 years ago because we didn't go back to that sort of previous knowledge and go, oh God, there's another clash there. And then the other problem that we had was you suddenly get this influx of new enrollments. Those beautiful classes that you've created have gone kaput, and you need to quickly pull kids out, rearrange, and then formulate a new class. So you might end up with those clashes that you didn't know about. So a couple of years ago, I created this template so that we could kind of itemize, I guess, or put a numerical value to sort of the needs in the classroom. So I've broken it down into this spreadsheet that I'll show you, that has, literacy, numeracy, and then we've got other areas that are specific to my context, which is, Aboriginal students, EALD students, students that might be on the learning support team caseload, and students with any attendance issues that may impact on their learning. And then a section for comments. So the first year I didn't have the comment section, and when we made all those class changes, that's when I realized we needed to have that, specifically saying who this child should be with, if it's for some kind of peer support, if they're a new arrival to the country and it's a language thing, whatever, keeping those kids together or keeping kids separate for a specific reason. So we added the comment section for this year. And then what it does is it generates a graph for you to see. I like the graph because I can physically look at it and go, hang on a second, we've got one class here with a huge amount of kids that are on the learning support team and another class that has none. Now, it may have been done purposely that way so that support could be provided more to that classroom. That's fine. But when we're looking between the balance of needs in the classroom, we prefer to try and keep that equitable so that, all of our kids have kind of got that equal standing point when they start with their teacher for the beginning of the year. So I'm going to flip the camera now and show you some screenshots and video of what the actual template looks like and how you can use it and how you can download it. Please make sure that when you download, you follow these instructions. Don't click to request access to edit it. I'm not going to give it to you because it means that you're editing the original document, which then everyone else will be downloading from. So you need to click make a copy, and I'm going to show you how to do this now. The link that I will share with you in the description box below, if you're not in YouTube watching this, you'll need to go to the description box below. You will have this icon here. It says 2020 class planning template. Now you can open this and view it, but before you do any of that stuff and get tempted to try and type in there, you just right click and then you go to make a copy. And when you click on that, it will make a copy in your own drive, and you will be able to see it in your recent tab, which is over here on the side, recent. And then you can rename it and do whatever you want with it. You will be able to edit it. There's no point clicking on this and trying to request access. So if I double click on it, you will have a tab up the top here next to template that says view only. And if you click on that, you can request access to edit. I'm not going to give you access to edit it. Make sure you click make a copy. So this is the first page. If you have a look down the bottom here, it says overview, Kindy A, Kindy B, 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, and so forth. There's more classes down the bottom here. That's this list that's here. So this is just the 2020 class overview. So I've got a list down the side here. If you're a smaller school, obviously you'll have less. If you're a bigger school, you'll need to insert lines and put the new titles in there. Then I've got the number of students, the total number of students. So you can see down here for 3, 4, and 5, 6, I've got 24, 25, 25, 25, 25, 25. Then I've got breakdown. Obviously that's not needed for a class that's only one grade. That's where you would have composite classes. So the breakdown for this 3, 4A class of 24 students is 12 year 3 students and 12 year 4 students. So just so you can make sure you get that balance, and then just a classroom name. And then this is really easy to hand over to your SAS staff that might need this for classroom allocations. And then I've got a section here to put the teacher name, and also a section here to put the room name. You know, some rooms have got weird names in schools, some just use the class name. Now over here on the side, these are the numeral allocations, the value weighting, I guess, for lack of a better word, that we're giving to the kids for these areas. So when it comes to academic, and I'm just going to highlight it so you can see it here, we have for literacy and numeracy, so they get a 0 if they're well above expectation, high potential. A 1 if they're slightly above expectation, a 2 if they're at expectation, and a 3 if they're below expectation. Now, when you're looking at things like behaviour, EALD, learning support team, Aboriginal, we've got 0 for no concerns, 1 for minimal concerns, 2 for some concerns, and 3 high needs. So obviously it's not very specific about what those needs are. Again, we're just trying to put some kind of value on these things so that we can compare classes. And then down the bottom, attendance is separate. So we've made it, they get a 0 if they're above 95%, 1 if they're above 90%, 2 if it's between 80 and 90, and a 3 if it's below 80%. So I'm just going to go to Kindy A now, which has just an example of what it looks like when you fill in a class. So at the top here, we've got its KA, you put the teacher name and the total students, and then across the top here, literacy, numeracy, behaviour, all those titles there, and comment. This at the top here is the total number that you've got in those areas, and then the class average. So if you go down the side here, these are all the kids' names. And of course, I've just used some funny celebrity names here for today's purposes to give you an example. And then they've all been given values. Now this, it's up to you as a school if you decide that this is actually going to come from specific assessments, or if this is just going to be based on, you know, consistent teacher judgment. You're going to sit there and the teacher will say how they think that child should be weighted with those numbers. And then over here having the comments. So we can see Brad Pitt is separated from Gwyneth. Will Smith has been kept separate from Jazzy Jeff. Bob Belcher here has got asthma and autism. Ken McGarry has some language concerns. Nick McCarr, asthma and language. And Lilo and Stitch is currently being toileted in kindy. So now what you can see though is the graph, and this is the bit that I really like as an executive to get that overview snapshot. So we can see we've got literacy is almost up at 40, numeracy not as high in needs, just under 30, just under 10 is the behaviour needs of the class, but obviously very high EALD needs in this class. LST is about midway, Aboriginal sitting just under 20, and then attendance also sitting just under 20. Now, this may or may not look concerning to you. You'll see a pattern of this over the years, but if I go to Kindy B to try and compare these classes, and this time I've just used student A, B, C, D, blah, 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 and given them much different values. And if I look at the graph, I can see that none of these values go above 30, Whereas this other class, we had a couple of things hit above that 30 area. So already I can see that Kindy A has much higher literacy and EALD needs than Kindy B. Now, this could be because we're specifically targeting this class as perhaps a focus for intervention with those kids. Maybe they're all new arrivals and the EALD teacher is going to spend a predominant amount of time in that classroom. So if you know that's the reason, that's fine. But if you are planning on having, that time shared between two classes and you can see those two different needs, then there might be a concern. Looking at the behavior needs, this first class KA was up to almost 10 and KB is about 5. So, it's a couple of kids difference, may not mean much to you. And then what I've done is I've just left all these other classes empty for you so you can start typing in there. If you want another class, so let's say you've got 3 Year 1 classes, not 2, you just right click on one of them and you can duplicate it. It will look exactly the same. See how it says copy of 1A down here? This is very small on the bottom and for some reason I can't figure out how to view it. Oh, there we go. Oh, that made everything else bigger. That's fine. Down the bottom here, I can rename it and just make it 1C if I want to. And then I'll just move it over so it's actually in order. Everything else will look exactly the same. So all the formulas are there. If I start putting numbers in here, it's going to start creating a graph. And oops, I shouldn't have put 5 there. And over this side, if I start putting numbers, there's the graph there as well. So you can see they work. So I'll just delete that. And I will also delete 1C. So that's easily editable for you guys to be able to do that. Hopefully that's helpful for you. If you have already written your class lists, this might be a way for you to double check that you've actually made that balance. Retype up those class lists, see what your graphs look like and see if you want to move any kids around. I have found it really helpful. What we do is we sit together as a team. We talk about which kids are going to go into which classes. And if it's a composite class, we make sure we do the older kids first. So we do the Year 5s going into Year 6 first and get the Year 6s done and then put the Year 5s in with them. And for the 3 4s, we do the 4s first and then put the Year 2s going up into Year 3 into the rest of that list as well, and then see if there's any kind of imbalances there or kids that need to be moved. And then what we do is I print all of that out, exec look over it, see if there's any mistakes, kids missing, new enrollments coming in that need to be added. And then we put it out for staff again so that everyone can have a look at each other's things, because you're going to have some long-standing teachers in your school that will have that historical knowledge about, what kids didn't get along 2 years ago or 3 years ago, or if there was a mad family falling out or something and they can't be together. If you've got new teachers that aren't aware of those things, sometimes those things don't come into play, but it's always good to be able to put it out there and recognize those things. Make sure your RFF teachers are involved, your librarian is involved, your EALD teacher, your support teachers, because those teachers know those kids as well and will be able to provide input as to how they're going to function as a solid class in the new year. And then once that's done, people make their changes on it, exec take it, we retype it again, and then we have our tentative classes for the following year, which don't obviously become final until you put your numbers in for bums on seats the next year. So I hope that's useful for you to use. If you have any problems with the download, please contact me. I always reply, even if I don't reply straight away. If I haven't replied, make sure you contact me again, because I get a lot of messages coming through the inbox. But just make sure again, don't bother clicking request to edit, make a copy, and then you can go for gold and edit to your heart's content. So if you think this is going to be helpful for you, or at least you like the look of the template, give the video a thumbs up. Subscription button is below, as well as the description box, which has the link for you to be able to open that up. So I will put my subscription button down the bottom here, and I'll put another one of my videos at the top there. And if I don't speak to you or see you before the Christmas period starts, I hope you have a wonderful, happy, healthy, safe break with your friends and family. Rest, rejuvenate. See you soon, guys. Bye.